Hi, I'm Sue.
And I'm Mel, and this is Manifesting with Mel and Sue. Tonight's topic is, do you have to believe your affirmations?
Do you?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, but if it's the law of assumption, the law of belief, then why do you not have to believe it?
Because the more you say it, the more your subconscious is impressed, and it'll just have to happen anyway.
Yes. So that's the cool thing about the subconscious is that it believes anything that you tell it, even if you don't consciously believe it. It will accept anything as true because it doesn't know any better. It's kind of dumb. Use that to your advantage.
Impressionable.
Impressionable.
We say impressionable.
Okay. Yes, my subconscious is not dumb. It's very impressionable. It's my favorite quality about my subconscious, actually.
Yes, I agree, mine too.
So I want to talk about a man named Joseph Murphy, Dr. Joseph Murphy. He wrote a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And I read this book, and in the book, he says that you don't need to believe your affirmations, you just need to repeat them. Mm-hmm. And I was doubtful of that because I always thought it was your beliefs that create your reality, your beliefs that create your assumptions, and they do create your reality, but also you can create a belief without believing the assumption that you're creating. Does that make sense?
It's true.
So I want to give an example. So in his book, Dr. Joseph Murphy also talks about how you can get information from your dreams. And basically the idea is you set an intention before you fall asleep that you want to get a message from your dream. And I read this, and that night that I read it, I decided I'm going to do this. I want to see if I can get a message from my dream. So I set the intention, I want to get a message from my dream tonight. And I fell asleep, and I had a dream, and I remembered it, and I got a message. So here's what happened. I had a dream that I was in a recording studio, and I was with these three guys who were recording a podcast in the recording studio, and I was very impressed because I do my podcast from a laptop. I don't have quite a huge setup like that. So I was asking them lots of questions, and one of the hosts of the podcast says to me, "Your voice is really familiar. Have you ever done a television commercial or a radio commercial?" And I said no, but I actually auditioned once using a television commercial script. So all of this happened in my dream. I started repeating word for word this television commercial that I had memorized in my real life when I was 12 years old. So when I was, I might have been a little older, like a teenager. When I was a teenager, I went to a modeling audition, and I auditioned for a casting director named Robert Knoll. And while I was waiting to audition, they gave everybody this television commercial to read for the casting director. And I wanted to be professional, and I wanted to act it out, so I memorized the script while I was waiting in line. And then I got in there, I auditioned for him, and I read the script. And I read this word for word in my dream because I still remembered it 20 years later. And it goes like this. I jog every day because being healthy is important, and using natural products like Ivory is a part of it. Ivory's a natural soap. It gets you clean naturally. It doesn't contain a lot of perfumes or deodorants, and I like that. I use a deodorant, so I don't want one in my soap. Ivory gets you clean naturally. It's terrific. So anyway.
That's impressive that you can remember it after all these years.
I memorized it. I committed it to my memory. I remembered it in my dream. And so I woke up, and I was like, that's funny that I remembered that entire thing from 20 years ago that I haven't thought about in years. And then I realized the first line of that script is I jog every day. Mm-hmm. And here's the interesting thing about me is that I hated running as a kid. Current me, and now runs marathons and ultra marathons. I
100-milers.
Haven't completed yet, but I'm working at it. 100 kilometers so far. So anyway, I committed that to my memory. It impressed on my subconscious. And I went from someone who hated running to someone who literally did run every day. Mm-hmm. And I never wanted to. Like, it wasn't a goal of mine to become a runner as a kid. But that repetition in my subconscious manifested me running in my life. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that was the message I got from my dream is that, no, I don't have to believe my affirmations. I only have to repeat them, and eventually, if they're not contradicted, they will manifest.
Exactly. And it's funny because I've never liked running I hated it as a kid. I was never a runner, and I always told myself, I would tell everybody, I'm not a runner, I can't run, I suck at running. And she told me a couple of years ago, she's like, no, you don't, anybody can run. And I was like, oh, not me. And so she convinced me that I could be a runner, and my very first run with her was a mile. Mm-hmm. My second run I did with her was 2 miles, and the very next one that I did...
And you beat me up the hill.
was 4 miles. So I was taken off like a rocket in doing this because there was nothing to contradict me being a runner. I got rid of the old story, I ignored it, and I took on the belief that I can be a runner. And because I didn't doubt it, I didn't argue with it, there was nothing contradictory whatsoever. I went from, like, every time I've gone for a run, I've doubled miles. So I'm like, oh boy, when I start running higher mileage, like me. I'll be doing your 100 milers in no time.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you bring that up, that we even got on this topic, because another example of synchronicities, everyone as you pushed out, I was literally telling that story today to Diane while we were on
gosh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
Well, I think we were talking to Michelle about that the other day too.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Oh, that's so fun. So speaking of synchronicities, we were just talking about that in one of our last videos. Mm-hmm. So that is so cool.
So do you have any other stories about not having to believe your affirmations?
Yes, actually. This is one that it's popular. I've been around a lot of people who have said this, and I used to say when I was younger, I would be like, oh, I'm so fat, I'm so out of shape. And I was in amazing shape, I just didn't realize it. And eventually, because I didn't contradict it, I wasn't eating poorly, I would exercise and everything. I started noticing I was gaining weight, and I was a very active person. But because I would jokingly say things like, oh, if I even look at a cookie, I gain 5 pounds. And guess what? I started, I was gaining weight, and I had no idea why. There was zero reason
you
for
were manifesting.
Being
You're
able
so powerful.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I am. And so I did realize that I'm like, well, if I can do it, I can undo it. Mm-hmm. And so, it was like, that was really dumb on my part, but again.
Oh, not dumb. You were so smart. You just didn't know any better at the time.
I didn't, but now I do. And I haven't said that in a very long time.
That's
so,
awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we just wanted to share a little of our anecdotes about how you don't have to believe your affirmations. You just have to repeat them until they impress in the subconscious. And the only thing that's going to stop them from manifesting is you contradicting them. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying all day long, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, but then you're getting frustrated about not having money for things, you're contradicting the idea that you're rich. Because if you were rich, you wouldn't get frustrated, right? No. So you just kind of have to deal with the 3D while still affirming what you want to be true in your reality.
Exactly. I think for me, when I pay bills, I always kind of on the bottom of the check or anywhere that I have to pay anything, I always write thank you, because I'm appreciative. Get me, I can pay my bills. This is great. Yeah. And I never ever pay them in a state of lack or being, begrudgingly. I don't, oh my God, I just don't have the money to pay this. The other day I had to take my cat to the emergency vet, and I wasn't expecting to have to pay that bill. But I just happened to have the money in my account, and I was able to, and I started to feel a little bit frustrated, and I started to say, I don't have the money for this. And I went, no, I do. I obviously have it, because I was able to sit down on my phone. They literally emailed me the bill. I paid it on my phone, and they brought him out to me. And so, I was like, I'm super glad I can do this.
And you know what? Every dollar comes back to you multiplied.
Exactly.
So you should be grateful for every dollar that you spend, because you know you're just going to get it back multiplied.
Exactly.
So I think that's it for whether you have to believe your affirmations or not. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below, and share, and subscribe.
Don't forget, go out and manifest that dream life.